Today's repair will be of an HP Pavilion 17G121WM. For this repair, we will be using the 56-bit driver kit donated to me for my giveaways for the 2018. I will be putting a coupon code link that will give you not only 10% off of this, but anything in the donator's Amazon shop. Check the video description and comment section below for the link to his site. Okay, so here we are. We got the tool set that we're going to be using. I just showed you a second ago. That set was donated to me. I did a product review on it. A link to the product review will be at the end of this video if you're interested in getting yourself a quality tool set for electronics items. Now, this tool set will do any game system, PC, laptop that you have. Obviously, some screws are larger, but this is designed for all of your medium to small, which is the majority of all your work. All right. I apologize for the autofocus in advance. Okay, so the first thing you want to do whenever you're doing a laptop repair is, one, determine your ability to do it. All right, if you don't feel comfortable, you should absolutely not turn a single screw on your laptop. If you have never repaired electronics before and you're watching this video to get an idea as to how to repair your laptop, I highly recommend you save yourself some money, although you should still buy this kit for tinkering around and get comfortable doing this kind of stuff later, but save yourself a big major headache and possibly the loss of your entire laptop, and actually pay a repairman to do it. If you're local to Fresno or Clovis, California, I will be more than happy to provide that repair service for you, as I am basically the cheapest person around because I try to keep my repairs cheap enough to keep everybody that does the game systems away from all the other guys that learn everything they know off of YouTube and have no education in electronics. Now, obviously, first thing you need to do is remove the power supply or battery. You don't want this plugged up. Today's video is going to be a teardown. We're removing and replacing the entire motherboard. Unfortunately, he spilt liquid in it. I replaced the keyboard. Was not quite good enough to get the repair completed, so we're going to replace the entire motherboard since there's multiple flaws all around it, and will no longer boot. So let's get our laptop. If you insist on following a video on YouTube, anytime you remove the screws from the case, this particular case, all the screws are going to be the same length. However, whenever you remove the screws, you want to place them in the same order off to the side, so you want a nice wide working area. Place the screws in the same order you pulled them out. That way you know exactly where to put them back in. Because if one screw is just 1/8 of an inch longer than another, you could wind up shorting out something on your motherboard, or ending or screwing it all the way through to the outside of the keyboard. Alright, so on this particular laptop, you're going to need to remove the two plastic pieces. They screw into the top. This is simple enough. Okay, now I'm going to point this over here so you can see this. I'm going to set this right here, come back, and we're going to remove these screws, and we're going to put them in order I removed them, and I'll let you see what that looks like once I get them all removed. And I apologize for the autofocus, and I will be giving you a little bit of close-ups from time to time. We're just going to go right through and remove all of the screws right down the line. Nothing beats a quality set of screwdrivers. You always want to use the proper tool for the proper job. If you're not using the right size screwdriver, you can strip the head of the screw out, and that will make a nightmare out of your repair, and or impossible for you, in which case you'd have to take it to a repair shop that's going to now charge you double, because he's got a nightmare of a job to take care of in order to get your stuff apart. Most of the labor cost is actually disassembling your laptop. Okay, so we got all the screws. We're going to double check and make sure we got all the screws. Did we get all the screws? No, we did not. See these here and here? These are screws. So we need to remove, and this is where these little super tweezers come in. I love these in this kit because they're really super fine and allow me to get right underneath that. Now I'm going to set that right here and get up underneath there, pull that off. Okay, now if you hadn't seen that, you would have went to try to pry this thing apart, you would have broke something for sure. If you're following along and you have the exact same laptop and you haven't watched this video all the way through yet, and you're currently taking screws out, stop right now. Watch the video all the way through so you know what you're getting into before you do any of this. Okay, so now let me show you how I've been arranging these screws. Okay, in 1 second. Okay, see how these screws are arranged? They're all arranged in order of how I removed them. We can see that they are all the same size. So this means I can consolidate them into a much smaller area and get them out of my way. And we know that they all came from the bottom of the case. So let's do that. Okay, so I put them all in a nice little pile here because we know we have all of the screws out that we need to remove. Now we need to remove these two little plastic pieces here. To do that, we don't want to damage it, so I'm going to take a spudger. This does not come in this kit, but is something any repairman should have. This allows you to very carefully get in between the plastics so that you don't damage this part. You don't want it all scratched up. We're going to set that over on the other side. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Pull that up there. Okay, you want to see what that looks like over there? How I set it up? There we go. Right there. You see how I got them in order. Okay, now we need to flip over and open the laptop and get inside. Unlike a lot of laptops that actually have a breezle here and then you remove the stuff and you pull the keyboard out, the motherboard is actually, on this particular model, is actually attached to the keyboard, or this upper lid. So we need to very carefully remove the bottom half from this. To do that, I'm going to grab a different spudger. This one has been slightly modified. It's the heavier spudger, but I ground this down to a very sharp point so that we don't scratch up stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to get up right underneath this, and let me get you a close-up of that. You're going to get right up underneath in the seam of the laptop, and you're going to very gently go right down the line and pry up them. Okay, now that you've seen that, I'm going to put you back up to the top. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a second spudger. This makes life a lot easier because you can give it a little bit of a lift. Oops, I grabbed the wrong spudger here. Where'd my little Sharpie one go? Ah, right here. Always have more than one of these things. Okay, so this one will hold it up a little bit and help to separate a little bit. We're just going to unclip all of these little clips that hold the motherboard in place, and the upper to the lower. Okay. By doing it this way and taking your time, you won't scratch up your customer's laptop. Okay. And let's go back around this side. Here's the little clips popping. That's just you separating them little clips very carefully and gently. Okay, that should do it. So now we're going to very carefully lay the lid back down and flip the laptop over. We should now be able to remove the lower from the upper. Let you see that. Remove the lower from the upper. Now, these things can be a little stubborn, so you want to be very careful and double check everything. And see, by double checking, I realized that even though I released all of these and I got all of these screws off, I forgot to remove the two hinge screws that lock the hinges to the bottom casing. Alright, that's what's underneath these. So there we go again. Always double check before you pry anything. If it doesn't want to come off very easily, and these are the exact same size as the other screws, so we're good. We can just put them in the pile. If it doesn't come apart fairly easy without prying heavily, you're doing something wrong. Okay, and we got that, so we're going to do one last double check. Got that. Okay, so this should now come apart very easily. Okay, see, it's loose here, but it's still sticking here a little bit. So probably got a few tabs that are not quite released. I'm going to look at that now. Okay, get in here and release them tabs. There we go. There was one. Okay, that should do that. Let's try that again. Oop. Here we go. Forgot to double check. See what I mean about prying and not checking? Oh, and guess what? We forgot to pull this out. Okay, this is what happens when you're trying to make a video and tell other people how to do things, and rather than concentrating on the repair, you're concentrating on trying to get everything in order. Okay, so got that. That will slide right up and off. See how easy that came off once I figured out that because I'm concentrating on making a video for you that I forgot to remove that little tab for the SD card and forgot to remove the disk drive. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why I say always watch a video all the way through first. That way you know, hey, at this point he had forgot to do that and had to correct it. Okay, so this comes apart very easily, and as you can see, the motherboard is actually on the keyboard side of this. So what we need to do is take this motherboard off. I'm going to turn this around. Now, at this point in the repair, if you're doing this at home, I would highly recommend you take a camera and take a lot of pictures all the way around this. So give me a second, I'm going to show you. Okay, so by taking a picture, you'll know where everything goes and where screws may potentially go if you accidentally knock over your screws. Okay, so you want to go around and take pictures of every last square inch of this. Okay, that way you have a reference and know exactly where everything is. I want to show you something here. See the dust in the fan? That's the #1 killer of your laptops, same as your PCs and your game systems. Alright, I opened this one up before and realized that I needed to replace the motherboard, but right along here the dust builds up. Okay, if you wait for months and months and months and months and you blow air through there to knock that dust off, with all likelihood the next time you turn it on it's just going to flip right back up on here. You need to do it quite regularly so that when you blow air through from the outside, it'll break it up into very small pieces and actually come out. Alright, so we do need to clean up this fan a little bit. Now we need to remove the fan. On this fan there is a power cord. I'm going to grab that and unplug it. Okay, and then there's 2 screws for this particular model. There's 2 screws, one here and here. We need to remove them in order to remove the fan. There's one. And there's 2, and the fan will just come right out. Okay, now I'm going to take and put these screws back in the fan. That way I know where they belong and I don't get them mixed up with anything else. They're going back in the exact same spots. I can set that way off to out of the way. There we go. Now we need to remove some of these. You can use one of the flathead bits on these, use the wider ones, not the really tiny ones, or you can use a spudger, or you can even use the plastic spudgers if you like. But you want to get up underneath the clip, and I'll give you a close-up of that here in just a second. Okay, you want to get up underneath the clip and very gently lift up. You can use your fingernail, like so. And very carefully lift the clips up. Alright? But there we go. But the spudger works really nice for doing all of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this clip here, get it out of the way. We're going to remove this one here, get it out of the way. Now this ribbon cable is attached to the underside of this board, so we're going to release the ribbon cable over here, and because we're replacing the motherboard, we're going to remove the RAM. Be very careful, avoid touching the end of the RAM. I'm going to set this over here on a little anti-static bag, and we're going to remove the other RAM. You just push these two little tabs out and it'll pop right up and come out. Okay, so we got the RAM removed. We need to remove the ribbon cable for the keyboard and the ribbon cable for the mouse or trackpad if you like. Okay, and we're going to look around here. We got the ribbon cable for this drive. We're going to go ahead and remove that very gently and carefully. Okay, and we're going to look around. We need to remove some of these wires here so that they can be replaced. Alright, so grab your finger and put it here, and then very carefully and gently rock that out. And I'm going to give you a close-up of that. One sec. When it comes to these type of plugs, even the small ones, you want to very carefully rock them out. So pry a little bit, pry a little bit, pry a little bit, pry a little bit, and keep doing that. You can do it a little bit here if you can get it. This is much easier if you can do both hands, because one hand can do this side and the other hand can do the other side. Okay. Be very careful. You don't want to break these things. There we go. That's basically how you remove them. You could do it very gently, very slowly. Take your time. Do not be in a hurry. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with this one here. I'm going to take my fingernail, I'm going to grab it on this side, and I'm just going to use the spudger and rock it back and forth until we get it unplugged. There we go. We got that unplugged. We got that unplugged. We got that unplugged. We got one more here for the speakers. I'm going to very gently get my fingernail up underneath there. We're going to rock that back and forth until it comes out. There we go. That's out. And I got to get the phone. Okay, we're done with the phone. Alright, so we've got everything disconnected here except for the little Wi-Fi card that's not screwed into the bottom here, so that's fine. We do need to remove the Wi-Fi antenna. There's only one wire going to this, so you don't have to worry about a black wire and a white wire and getting them mixed up or anything. So all we need to do is just detach that, and remember that it goes to the very far corner of the Wi-Fi. Alright, so at this point I can remove the screws and remove the motherboard. But because I'm replacing the motherboard, we are going to go ahead and remove the screws to the heatsink first. Okay, there we go. Now, I really should have removed the BIOS battery, but like I said, we're removing the motherboard and replacing it, so I'm not really concerned about shorting anything out on this particular board. And yet another reason why you should watch the video all the way through, because I didn't talk about this. If you wasn't planning on replacing your motherboard, you might have touched something that would cause electricity to flow in a place where it should not have flown. Alright, so let's take a look at this. The thermal paste is very dry, still usable, still pliable, but very dry. So it would have been nice to have this renewed on any cleanup or repair. Okay. This has got a little piece of plastic that is used to protect against shorting of the little tiny components. We can remove that just to let you see. Boy, that's on there good. So, see all these little tiny components in here? This prevents the heatsink from actually making contact with any of them and only making contact with the die. Alright, so we're going to keep that just in case the new motherboard didn't come with one. Sometimes they don't. Alright, and then obviously you would clean this up, but if you look real close at this, let me pause you here for a second. Okay, if you look real close at this, see how thick the thermal paste is on the top of this die. Alright, that, once autofocus, that is going to let you know with all likelihood you're going to need a shim. Okay, so let's get you back up on top. A shim is a copper piece of metal that is used to provide depth, because through the manufacturer they use a pre-printed, partially dried out thermal paste that's attached to the heatsink, and then it gets pressed on, so it has a bit of thickness to it, right? But once you clean this off, you're going to be using a more liquid, non-dried thermal paste that is going to be able to actually work better and compress all the way down to the surface, right? So if your heatsink does not have flexible tensions, and this one does, so this is good. If it doesn't have flexible tension bars, then you're going to need a shim to make up the height difference. All right, a lot of laptops do require shims whenever you remove this, so keep that in mind. This one will not need shims because it has flexible tension bars on the heatsink itself, which will push it down and make good contact, so we won't need to worry about that. Alright, so let's get this motherboard out. We're going to find all the screws. You got a motherboard screw here, 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 and And I think that was basically it. Oh, and here. All right, so let's remove them. We go. And we're going to keep these 4 screws over here. Excuse me. I'm moving screws. All right. Okay, we're going to remove this screw here. And we're going to keep this in orientation of where the screws were removed. And we're going to remember that basically where these triangles are, where the screws went. And we have a photographic reference of it in the video. Oh gosh. One sec. Okay, so where was I? Apologize for the constant phone calls, but I am a licensed shop and people need to call me. Okay, so we removed this screw, and we're removing this screw. Always make sure you're using the proper headed screwdriver. I think I told you that earlier. So that you do not strip out the screw. If you strip out the head of the screw, that's where the tip goes in here, that is going to be a nightmare for you. Okay, so this should very easily come right out. Looky there. Sweet. Easy peasy. Okay, I'm going to remove that. We're going to set this right here because we know this end went in this side and this end is going to go up underneath the motherboard, so we're just going to sit this where we want that. And I'm going to go grab the motherboard and we're going to put this thing back together. So let me pause this for a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, so we got our replacement motherboard here and we are going to get that installed. Let's set the bad board over there. We're going to start off with putting the underside ribbon on. You want to make sure that it is in right the first time, all the way and straight, because you don't want to be opening this up and taking it apart again. Alright, now you see how I'm holding this on the outsides of the board, so I'm trying to avoid touching anything in here. I just noticed that this does in fact have the BIOS battery in it, so let's set this down nice and gentle here, and we're going to remove that BIOS battery. Do that, we're just going to take our spudger very gently and carefully, and we're going to push that forward and lift up. Sometimes they're a pain. There we go. Now we got that out of there. We don't have to worry about power through the board. Now I'm wearing an anti-static strap on my ankle, so don't freak out. Alright, we got that piece. Now I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm going to bring you down here to the motherboard so you can see what I'm going to show you here. 1 second. Okay, now on these motherboards there are guides that will let you put in there, so, or let you get this motherboard in nice and straight. You want to line up your guides. There's another one right over here that actually takes the screw. It should look just like that. Okay, you want to make sure these are all in place so that everything is perfect where it's supposed to be. So let me put you back up top. Okay, so we got you back up top. Here we go, and we got the underboard, the ribbon cable for the underside of the motherboard. We're going to go ahead and attach that now. Make sure that's in there all the way snug. Make sure that retainer clip goes all the way down nice and straight. We're going to do the same thing with the disk drive ribbon cable. Very carefully we're going to lift that up and slide that right in there and attach that. We're going to very carefully put the keyboard ribbon cable in. Make sure that's nice and straight all the way down. There we go. We're going to take the mouse or trackpad ribbon cable. We're going to put that in and make sure that's nice and even and straight and all the way in. I'm going to lock that down. Now some of these ribbon cables are going to wind up underneath the motherboard, so very carefully and gently pull it out from underneath the motherboard. And if you need to use tweezers to hold the ribbon cable in order to plug it in, do so. If you don't, then yay. Alright, so we're going to take your hard drive ribbon cable and we're going to make sure that goes in and all the way in and nice and straight, and then clip that down. Easy peasy. Okay, so now we got that all locked down. We're going to put in the motherboard screws. We're going to put them back in the exact same places that we pulled them out of, because we organized them over here to the side. Okay, there we go. And we're going to put this one here. And we're going to put this one here. And we're going to put this one here. Now before I do anything else, I will double check before I put this all the way together. I'm going to double check the video to make sure that I got them in the right spots. Okay, alright, so we got that down. Now we need to take care of the chip. It already came with the little black retainer that covers up and protects all of the other pieces. So all we have is this die. We need to clean up the die. So let me pause the video, go get some Q-tips and some isopropyl alcohol. We're going to clean that up a bit. Okay, so I'm going to take some isopropyl alcohol. We're just going to spray it onto a Q-tip. I don't want that too heavily liquid, so I'm going to dry that off a little bit. And we're going to very gently just clean off the top of the die. And then we're going to dry it with the other side of the Q-tip. That's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to allow that to dry further while we're cleaning up this one. Alright, so we're going to basically just scrub that all off there with that Q-tip and get that into the garbage can. Sorry, I'm off the video a little bit. Okay, get that. Take another Q-tip, get that nice and clean off there. Okay, you don't have to be absolutely perfect, because less likelihood of getting a piece of dust or something on here, or hard dust I should say, on here, the better. So you want to clean it off, but a little tiny bit of remnant of the old thermal paste will not hurt anything. Alright, so let me get that off. Alright, so now we need to apply some thermal paste and then reattach this. So give me 1 second here. Move some stuff around. Okay, so thermal paste, what should you use? This is Arctic Silver 5. I'll give you a close-up of that here in just a second. I know there are other ones on the market. They say, oh, this is 10% run cooler than the Arctic Silver and all of this other stuff, but what they don't tell you is they dry out a lot faster. Yeah, they might run you cooler for a little bit of time, but in the long run, Arctic Silver, in my opinion, whoops them all, because I've seen so many of them that are drier than the Sahara Desert by the end of the year, whereas the Arctic 5 is still very liquid and very capable of transferring cooling. Now, this is only thing you need for any of these dies. Unless your electronic specifically states that you should use a specific thermal paste, then this is your choice here and here only. Yes, it is expensive, and yes, there are cheaper stuff, but you get what you pay for. If you put cheap stuff on, you know it's gonna die fairly soon after. So let's get you a close-up of how to apply the thermal paste properly to one of these chips. Okay. Now, a lot of videos are going to tell you to put the thermal paste on the chip and then flatten it out with a credit card and stuff. Absolutely a stupid move. This is how you want to do it. You want to put your... One second. Got to get that in my hand. You want to put your Arctic Silver nozzle on it very gently. Allow it to come out. I'm going to put enough on there to where it will cover the entire die with just a little bit of excess runoff on over the edges. The excess will act as a moisture retainer, and if you spread this out, it can cause air bubbles when you put the heatsink on. Right? An air bubble will be an insulator, which means it cannot transfer heat. If you do it like this and then apply the heatsink, as that pushes that little mound down and flat, it'll push out every single last bit of the air beneath the heatsink and above the chip and make an absolute perfect seal. So never spread the thermal paste. You want to put on just enough to where you know it will flow over. It's usually about a pea size, or say 40% of the die. Okay, so we're going to set this on there very gently like that, and we are going to attach the screws for the spring tension. So let's put you back up top and put them in. Okay, we got you back up top now. Now we're going to take the screws and we're going to very gently, just ever so slightly, start the screw. And we're going to do the same on the opposite corner. Okay, to get the screw started, pay attention to how I'm turning this screw. When you put the screw in, and you get it directly above the nut beneath it, turn it to the left like you're going to take it out. You'll hear a click. Okay, and then turn it to the right. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Alright, once you do that, it will line up the threads. Okay, watch again. We're going to do it one more time. We'll put it in. We're going to turn it like as if we're taking it out. You hear that little click? Now we can turn it the other direction a couple of times. Now all of these are in, but they're loose. Now we're going to go back and tighten them all up. And the reason why we did it loose all the way around the first time is so that if we tighten this side down before tightening this side down, it will squeeze all the thermal paste out to this side and not go this way. So once you get that in there, just take and go one side and the other side, go catty corner, back and forth, and this will evenly apply pressure to the die on the chip. And ensure a perfect paste job. Alright, slightly snug that up. This is not a car. You're not torquing it. Okay, there's no foot-pounds added to these screws. just until it stops, and then a slight snug. Alright, so that's done and in place. Okay, so let's install the RAM. This was the first one I took out. Take the RAM, stick it in pretty much at a 45-degree angle into the board, and then press down. It'll lock itself in. Do the same thing with the RAM on the other side. Put it in kind of at a 45-degree angle. I'll get the camera down here so you can see from the side, okay? One sec. Okay, so you're going to take the RAM and you're going to just stick it inside the slot. There's a little guide pin here so you can't get it wrong. Stick it in at a 45-degree angle. Wiggle a little bit, make sure it's all the way in, and then just press down. And these side pins will lock into place. Give it a little bit of a bounce. Make sure it's locked into place good, and you're good to go. So let's get you back up top. Okay, so we got the RAM in and we got all of the ribbon cables in. We need to get the plugs in, but let's double check. Do you see anything that I'm missing as far as ribbon cables is concerned? Probably not, because you're kind of up in the air. Let me straighten out the camera here a little bit. But looky here. This is where we do our double checks. We need to attach the cable that actually sends the video to the monitor. There we go. Make sure that's in all the way down and seated, locked into place. Now we have all of our ribbon cables. We're going to check here, here, here. We got this one here. We got the long ribbon cable attached both sides. We got the monitor cable. Now all we need to do is hook up the power cable here. I'm going to very carefully get that in place and just kind of squeeze that in there and make sure it's all the way down and in place. As I'm going along and I'm looking around to double check, we noticed that this board did not come with the Wi-Fi chip, so we need to pull that off of the other motherboard, which is right here, in order to install into this one. So we need to remove the little tiny screw. Can you see that little tiny screw? And I'm going to set that right here, and then this pops up. It works just like the RAM. Okay, just slide that in place. Slide it in at a 45-degree angle. Push it in till it's all the way in, and it doesn't rock back and forth. And then we're going to take the screw, get it into the driver, press down, and then install that screw. Remember, once the screw stops, slightly snug, done. Okay, like I said, this is not a car. You do not torque any screws on this laptop. Okay, now let's get this in. I'm going to give you a kind of a close-up view of installing these, so let me get you down from up top. There we go. We'll wait for the autofocus. We need to install these. We're going to very gently and carefully make sure these go in, and I'm going to take my thumbnail, I'm going to grab a hold of that pin, and I'm going to push it here and just pinch it in, and then I'm going to look really close and make sure it's all the way in. Make sure it doesn't rock. Okay, and we'll move on to the next one, which is here. And get that in there. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but you can see what I'm doing. Push that in there. Fingernail on it, pinch. Now that one, sorry about the autofocus. That one's all the way in, but we're going to make sure it ain't wiggling and everything. Okay, and then we need to attach the antenna cable. Now these things are really tiny, but they just clip right on, so be be gentle. You don't want to break them. This is just going to set directly on top like that, and then you're going to press it down. So grab your finger, sorry, this is kind of hard to do while holding the camera, trying to see if I'm getting it in the shot for you. Okay, so let me show you how to do this. We'll put you back up top. Alright, best method for putting these on is to use your tweezers, line it up, and then use your other finger to press it down. Done. Bam! See how easy that was? Alright, that's in. We want to make sure the wire is out of the way where it's supposed to be and not interfering with the fan that we need to put on, and we want to make sure that it did not pop off of the thing. So we're good there. We got cables in place, nice and tight, nice and tight, nice and tight, ribbons in place, hard drive in, we got our heatsink on. We need to install the fan now. Now remember, I put the 2 screws in the fan, so we're just going to set that down right where it's supposed to be. And we're going to take our driver, we're going to get on that screw, we're going to turn it like we're taking it out. Listen closely. You hear that clicking? The clicking is every time the threads line up and then pass each other. Once you hear a click, then you can turn the opposite direction, and that the threads are lined up. You will never cross thread or strip a screw if you simply turn it to the left like you're going to remove it, and then turn it to the right after you hear the click, and 100% every time the threads will be lined up and you will not strip the screws. Okay, we're going to plug the fan up, and we're basically done with the motherboard replacement. So now we need to put the rest of the system together. So let's turn this around. We're going to take one last look around the entire board, make sure that we have everything screwed in place, and I'm pretty certain that is all of it. Oop, here we go. This is exactly why we do a double, triple check. BIOS battery. That would be such a pain in the butt if we had forgot that, put this whole thing together, and then turned it on and realized that the BIOS battery is not in there. I mean, it's one thing to put the BIOS battery in and then find out the BIOS battery is dead and have to do it, but it is really disgusting if you forget to do it yourself, and now you just cost yourself time and money because you forgot to put the BIOS battery in. Okay. Now we are done with all of that. We need to put this back together. So I'm going to start by taking this. We're going to be leaning it in at a little bit of an angle, downward angle toward the hinges. I'm going to slide it over the hinges and kind of pull it back toward us very gently. Wiggle it up and down a little bit until we get it to pretty much almost exactly line up on the front edges. Alright, you can push it down a little bit until you hear a couple of clicks because it feels like it's already in place. The couple of clicks is just the keyboard and upper bezel clicking and attaching here. So what we need to do now is put in the hinge screws, and most of this is going to attach itself and click in as we do all of that stuff. But we're going to button up everything once we're done. So a little bit to the left, then to the right. Once we get all the way down, a slight extra turn, snug it up. Get that all the way down. Turn to the left until you feel a click. That's the threads lining up. Turn it to the right until it snugs down. Okay. Do it again. Lefty, righty, then tighty. And you will always have everything where you need it. Left, right. So just remember this, okay? Ready? Left, click, right, tight. Okay? Left, click, right, tight. Left, click, right, tight. Now, when I say tight, I'm not saying automotive tight. You hear that click? That was one of the clips on the inside case that we used the spudgers to remove earlier. So a lot of them will actually click into place as we tighten these in. Okay, to the right, to the, excuse me, to the left, then to the right. There we go. Turn left to, like you're going to take it out, turn right to tighten it down. Go all the way down till it snugs up. Slight, maybe a quarter turn, but don't force a quarter turn. You know, if you don't want to go a quarter turn, then don't make it. Okay. Left, right, left, click, right. There you go. Okay. Turn to the left until you feel it click or hear it click. Turn to the right. Okay. Left until you feel it click. Turn it to the right. Tighten it up. Up. There we go. Okay. We're getting there. Oop, I already put one in that one. Okay. Almost there. Okay, so I haven't put this one in on purpose because that one locks in. So we're going to check. We got two more here. Okay, to the left, click, down. Okay. So now we're going to take the corners. We're going to go ahead and put them on. They will just clip right into place. And then we'll take our screw, turn to left, click, turn it to the right, snug, quarter turn maybe. Left, click, right, tidy. Okay, there we go. And we're going to, oop, getting ahead of myself. Alright, get that put in there. Okay, I'm going to put that in. I'm going to turn it to the left until it clicks, turn it to the right until it's tight. There we go. Put it in, turn it to the left till it clicks, turn it to the right till it's tight. A little bit of an extra turn. We still have one screw left. Congratulations. We do not have any screws left over. Everything went back exactly where it is supposed to be. And where does that one screw that's left go? It goes right here. Ooh, I need to check something. Did I forget something? No, I don't think I did, but we do need to button up the lid so that everything is nice and straight. There we go. Now that should slide right in there. There we go. Okay. What the problem was of getting this in is the upper lid on the inside where the keyboard is wasn't quite popped in. It was lifting this up just a little bit, so that's that pop you heard. This is the way it should go in, nice and easy. If you don't go in easy, there's a problem. Don't force it. Figure out what the problem is. Left click, right, tight. That will not come out. And we'll put this back in its place just to protect the dust. And we put in the laptop battery just like so. Okay. Okay, yes, I am back with it torn open. And the reason why I determined it would, because of this. We put the ribbon cable on, believe it or not, upside down. So we need to correct that. And I wanted you to see that we actually did it wrong so that you don't make the same mistake in putting yours together. Okay, see, you can see the little blue here. That shouldn't be there. And these pins here should be like that. Okay, so we're going to have to release this motherboard and get that put back together properly. So let's get this done real quick. I'm just going to release the fan. Gonna very carefully remove the motherboard screws. Hopefully I can do this without pulling the entire motherboard out. Okay, I'm going to have to unplug a lot of stuff here. Okay. This is what happens when you're trying to make a video and you get distracted and you don't set your ribbon down on the board exactly the way it came out. So I said all of this stuff is very precise. If you don't put it together properly, then you have problems like not turning on, etc. Okay, let's very gently flip that over, undo that, put that in there correctly the way it should have been the first time. There we go. Okay, now we'll put this back where it belongs. Make sure all the stuff is not underneath the motherboard like last time. And we'll plug this in where it belongs. Blew up. Alright, now we'll put this motherboard back in. Okay, now we're cooking. All of this should be fine now. See how this has kind of got a raised edge upward? That's the way it should have looked the first time. That ribbon cable there. Plug that in there. Yeah. E, not good. Okay. Okay, get that in there. Okay, so a wishbone connected to the leg bone connected to the brain. Okay, got that connected. That connected. Now I could have tested this while it was open, but normally I don't make them mistakes. So I'm used to putting it completely back together before I test it, because normally I don't make them mistakes of flipping that over like that. But trying to make a video and concentrating on keeping everything visible for you can lead to mistakes. So I'm going to do a once over. We got the fan connected, heat sink, we got the motherboard screws in the proper places, we have the antenna hooked up, we have the speakers hooked up, we have the battery power hooked up, we have the main box power hooked up, we have the ribbon cable for the USBs hooked up, we got that hooked up, and it looks like we have everything hooked up now, so we can close it up the way it should have been. Okay, rock that up and down until we get this in place. So it's right on along that edge. If you want to see what it looks like before I click it into place, you can see the little clip. Just going to give it one little squeeze here. That locked the lower half in. That keeps this exactly the right distance and everything. We can squeeze a little bit of it in place now, just like that. Alright, that prevents us from accidentally squeezing on the screen or anything. And now we will put the screws back in. Right click left, or left click right. You remember what I told you. Turn to the left, click, turn to the right, tight. You know, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Well, when you're putting it back in, it's righty, oh excuse me, lefty loosey, click, righty tighty. Okay. Okay, so whenever you're taking a screw out, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Whenever you're putting the screw in, lefty loosey, click, righty tighty. Okay, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Left click, right tight. left click, right, 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 tight. Okay, we got one there. Right here. Them in, make sure they're all the way down. Left click, right, tight. Left click, right, tight. Left click, right, tight. Left click, right, tight. Miscellaneous. Disk drive. Oop, there we go. Left click, right, tight. Okay, we're gonna just kind of go around. We'll give everybody a little snug. Okay. Now we're going to put the battery on. And we're all done, right? Wrong. We still got the little stickies. Put them back. Okay. I'm going to open this up. And we're going to go along the edges and make sure all the little clips are clipped. And go along these edges. Make sure all the little clips are clipped. Okay. Do believe we are good to go. Battery may not be charged, so let's plug the power to it. Okay. Probably the battery. So let's try this. Okay. Sometimes if the battery is not charged enough, it won't allow it to turn on, and sometimes it won't allow it to turn on, period. So we're going to let this charge the battery a little while, because it does say it's charging on this side. and we'll come back and take a look. See if it's booting later. But everything should be working unless the motherboard I got was actually bad too. But basically that is a teardown and replacement of the motherboard on a HP for this particular model. And I apologize for being a little off screen, and sorry about making it so long, but I wanted to do it in real time for you, with the exception of a few pauses where I took the camera from the top to the bottom, and one short pause where I had to take the bottom off again to flip over that ribbon cable. Other than that, we just need to let this charge a little while, because we are getting a charge indicator light right here. So we're going to let that battery charge up and see if it'll boot. I'll post in the comment down below if it does boot in about 20 minutes or so after I am done with this video. Stay safe, happy gaming everybody. And the tool set that I used for this, with the exception of the spudger, is going to be given away on my channel for my 2018 giveaways. In the description of the channel, if you want to go get this set now, because this is an excellent set for pretty much everything around the house that requires medium to small tools. This is going to pretty much cover everything you need, with the exception of possibly a spudger. But this particular set is going to be given away absolutely free, shipping included, no taxes or anything like that. It's going to be given away on this channel. I also have, if you don't want to wait until the giveaway, because the giveaway video has not yet been posted, if you don't want to wait until the giveaway takes place, you can buy it early. I'm going to give you a 10% off coupon code that you can use, along with a link directly to the individual that donated one of these to you absolutely free. So it'd be nice if you go check his channel out. For now, we need to let this battery charge, find out, because like I said, some of these laptops will not boot if the battery is bad or missing. We need to double check that before I go pulling it apart again. And some of them have to have the battery full charged at least up to a certain percentage before it'll actually boot the system as well. So not sure if this is one of them particular models, but I want to make sure before I go tearing it apart again to find out anything else. Stay safe, happy gaming everybody. Bye.